Morgan. Good to have you back. Serious question. Do you agree with the president? Should we give Ukraine the money and do it now?
Yeah, well, I think it's a little bit more complicated than just a yes or no on that. If the House can do a couple of new provisions to this supplemental that would make it more palatable to the rest of the House, it could be possible for it to pass. We are facing some logistical hurdles. Looking at reality, there's only 3 days left in this session, and then the House won't come back until February 28th. I could be wrong. I don't know if they're going to be able to get enough amendments, enough changes to the supplemental in the next 3 days to make it palatable. For remember, under this provision, there needs to be a 2/3 majority from the House to pass it. So we are not close to that right now. Now, what could the House do? What could Speaker Johnson do? There's been some really, I think, very common sense proposals. First of all, you don't need to negotiate comprehensive immigration reform, but they could insert more border security measures that would make this, again, more palatable to 2/3 of the House. They could also look at the funding, the reported aid to Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel, and make it a loan. There's a history of that. This is not without historical precedents that we help our allies and friends, but that we do so via a loan that is paid out over a long tenure, right? This is not a short-term thing, but we had Lend-Lease in the United States. The Germans paid back part of the reconstruction. Again, I think the loan component is a good idea and may make the bill more palatable in the House if some of these provisions can change. As it stands now, you can't get 2/3 of the House. It's just a reality.
Are we withholding from Ukraine because we want them to engage in peace talks with Putin?
Well, I think that's what the Biden administration wants. I would imagine, since he has war and chaos in so many theaters, that he probably would not like to go into re-election with that hanging over his head. You know, every time the president talks about democracy, talks about standing up to Putin, I'd like to know where he was for the first year of his presidency when he didn't stand up to Putin. I would remind our audience that in 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks, is the 2-year anniversary of Putin invading in Ukraine. We know that Putin invaded under George W. Bush, under Barack Obama, and under Biden, but he did not invade under Trump. And by the way, he didn't invade under Biden just, you know, because they did everything right and, oh, well, it just happened. I have detailed and talked about plenty of times on your show. Biden made the gaffe saying, well, as long as it's a minor incursion. He's the one that canceled the Nord Stream 2 pipeline sanctions. He's the one that went right into arms control treaties with no negotiations with the Russians. But most importantly, the most flagrant thing that the Biden administration has done is that they fund both sides of this war. So while they have been sending lethal weaponry to Ukraine, which I would remind our audience, President Trump was the first one to do that. We were the first ones to send lethal aid to Ukraine. He has been paying off the Iranians billions of dollars. And the Iranians, in turn, have sent suicide drones to the Russians. They are now reportedly sending ammunition, ballistic missiles. So the Biden administration, by not enforcing sanctions, by putting $6 billion in the largest ransom payment in history into the escrow, and by not enforcing the tough policies that we pursued against Iran in the administration, they have effectively funded both sides of the war and undermined their own policy. So this thought that they are the ones standing up to Putin and Russia is quite laughable to me.
Got it. Morgan Ortagus, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Always appreciated. We'll see you later. Thanks.
Thanks, Stu.